Welcome to episode 20 of In the Abstract, the Lakeland Title podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Jeansonne, the founder and owner of Lakeland Title. And for this episode, since we just started a new year, I wanted to go over things that everyone should do or consider at least once a year in your legal and financial life. So some of these will apply to everyone. Some of them will only apply if in certain situations. So the first one we're going to start off with is your credit report. So every year you want to be checking your credit report. Just because if there are any sort of inaccuracies or any sort of like fraud or anything like that that's going on, you want to catch that as soon as possible. And so if you're checking your credit report at least once a year, if there is anything in there that you need to dispute, or someone's taking out credit in your name or anything like that, identity theft, anything like that, the faster you catch it, the easier it is to get it resolved. You are legally entitled to see a copy of your credit report for free once a year. So each of the three credit reporting companies, so that's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, they have to show you a copy of your credit report for free once a year. So some people do this all at once and they request all three all at once. Some people space it out and they request it from one company every 4 months. Either way you want to do it is fine, just as long as you're looking at that credit report so you can see what's going on. And some examples would be, if there was some sort of fraud or anything like that, if you catch it, within a year, it's a lot easier to get it taken care of. Anything that you need to dispute. So maybe there's a report on there that you paid a bill late, but you can show that I didn't pay that late. You'll probably still have those records if you catch it within a year. And so that's why you want to do that. And they make it pretty simple for you to kind of dispute any inaccuracies that are in that report. It's usually just a little button you can click on the link when they send you your report. Now, this is just the report. So they're not legally have to show you your credit score. They may want to charge you if you want to actually see your credit score, which is fine. But before you pay to see your credit score, you should check with your credit card companies, because a lot of credit card companies, just as a perk for card members, will let you see your credit score whenever you want for free. So before you pay to see your credit score, you might want to check to see if maybe you can get it for free just through some of the credit cards that you might have. But in any event, you want to get that report so you can see and make sure it's accurate, because you wouldn't want, a few years from now to go apply for a mortgage or a car loan or something like that, and you see, there's something on your credit report that, means you can't get that loan and it's inaccurate, and you could have corrected it a long time ago, but now years have passed and it's just a lot harder to resolve those kind of things after so much time has passed. The next one is your taxes. So when tax filing time comes around, you're going to want to consider, are you getting a huge refund, or are you having to write a check to the IRS if taxes are already being withheld? Because that'll mean that either not enough is being withheld or too much is being withheld to pay those taxes. Because ideally, you want the number to be zero. That's not really realistic, but you want either the refund you're getting or the amount you have to write a check for to be as small as possible. So if you're getting a big refund, that means that too much is being withheld. And so you're going to want to talk to your company about withholding less. And you can talk to whoever handles payroll at your company to get that taken care of. If you're having to write a check, that means that not enough is being withheld. And so you're going to want to talk to them again to make sure that the right amount is being withheld, so that you either get the smallest refund possible or writing the smallest check possible. So that's just something to think about once a year. And then another thing you're going to want to consider is what changes have occurred in your life over the past year. Did you get married? Did you get divorced? Are there new children in your life, be it your own children or nieces, nephews, that kind of thing? Because that's going to affect, do you need maybe some estate documents? Do you need to have a will drafted because now you have a spouse, or now you have kids, or there are additional kids. So maybe you already have it a will, but you need to change it to include the new children in your life, kind of things like that. Do you need some kind of guardianship declaration? All those kind of things are things you need to consider if your life circumstances have changed in that way. And this also goes to your retirement accounts and your insurance policies. So if you got married or divorced, or there are new children in your life, do the beneficiaries on your retirement accounts and your insurance policies need to change based on your change in life circumstances? Because I can tell you, I've seen in my practice where, someone doesn't change those beneficiaries on their insurance policies, and then something happens and, the beneficiary was their, ex-wife or something like that. And, their new wife isn't too happy about that, or they have these wills that don't include, other children that they had because they, made this will when they only had one child and now they have more, or, any kind of things like that. And so you're going to want to think about that. If there were any kind of changes like that in your life, do you need to change your estate documents and your beneficiary designations on your various, insurance policies and retirement accounts. Because with things like insurance and retirement accounts, whoever you designate that beneficiary as, that's where it goes. And so there's no real way for anybody to dispute that if it's incorrect. It's up to you to keep that updated and make sure that it has the right people listed. Another thing is with that is also your emergency contact. So do you have your emergency contact updated with, maybe if you got married or got divorced, like have you updated that to reflect any changes that happened in your life over the past year? And then next, we'll talk about, do you have an LLC? So do you run your main business through an LLC that you control, or do you have maybe a side gig that you run through an LLC? If so, you have to file an annual report in most states, like Louisiana. You have to file an annual report every single year, and the fee is usually nominal, but it's just something to keep your information updated with the Secretary of State. And so you're going to want to remember to file that every year, because if you don't, the Secretary of State can revoke your LLC charter, and then to get it reinstated, it costs a whole lot more than the annual report filing fee. And also, if you let that lapse and your LLC charter gets revoked, in some states, including Louisiana, after a certain amount of years passes and that charter has been revoked, someone else can come take your LLC name, and there's really nothing you can do about it because you failed, to file those annual reports for so many years. So that's something you're going to want to keep up with if you have an LLC. Either for your main business or some sort of side gig that you might have. It's just an important thing to keep up with, because those fees just increase the longer and longer you let it go without you filing those annual reports. So that's something you're going to want to think about if you have an LLC. Now, another one is, did you leave a job this year? So if you left a job this year, did you get paid out for everything that you were entitled to? So a lot of company policies, vacation days will vanish, but in some companies, vacation days will get paid out if you don't use them, or if you, leave. Is there any sort of compensation that you're owed from that old boss? You're going to want to look at your employment contract and the office policies from that job that you left, and make sure that there was nothing that they, forgot to pay you for when you left. So those kind of things are important. I've also seen that in my practice where people had, compensation that they were owed that was just never paid out, and they had to kind of do some fighting to get that, but they eventually did get it because it was compensation that they were legally owed. So you want to make sure if you left a job that you got everything that you were entitled to. And now we'll talk about rent. So if you're leasing either for your business or for your personal residence, if you're renting, you're going to want to think about your lease. If you haven't looked at your lease in a while, you're going to want to look because does the rent increase this year? So a lot of leases will have automatic increases every year, or every certain number of years, there'll be an automatic rent increase. And so you're going to want to think about that because if this is the year where your rent increase kicks in, you're going to want to be able to be prepared for that and not be, caught off guard by that. Also, is your lease expiring soon? Because most leases will require you to give notice if you're going to renew or not. And if you don't renew, then the whole lease might renew on its own. It could have an automatic renewal. So you're going to want to be aware of that. Do you have to notify your landlord that you're not going to renew the lease? Do you have to notify them that you're going to renew the lease, or you lose that right to renew it, and they could not lease the space to you anymore? So that's something that you want to think about on a yearly basis. Just because a lot of people, I've seen it happen before, where people just don't realize that the automatic renewal is kicking in or the rent increase is kicking in, and then they're hit with this letter from their landlord saying you owe us all this money, or we can't let you out of this lease because it automatically renewed for another year or 2 years or whatever it says in that lease contract. So that's something you're going to want to think about. And another property related one, did you buy a new home in the past year? A lot of states, including Louisiana, we have a new home warranty act, and so certain things are covered within the first year of owning that home, and within a certain number of years after that. So you're going to want to think about if are you hitting the first year of you owning that home, or the third year or the fifth year? You're going to want to think about, are there any claims I need to make under that new home warranty act that are about to expire in this year? So that's something you want to think about on a yearly basis. And another one with property is your insurance. So did you make any changes to your house? Did you add on to it? Did you do any kind of renovations or anything like that that might affect the value? And so your house is not insured for enough anymore. And so you may need to adjust your insurance policies because, I added on, another, 200 square feet or something like that, or we redid bathrooms in the kitchen and things like that, and the house is worth more now. We need to increase our insurance so that we're covered for the actual full value of our house, because the insurance company's not going to know if you do that unless you tell them. So you got to, make sure that your insurance policies for your house are all, up to the right value, and that, you don't have you're not lacking any sort of coverage in case something, God forbid, happens. And the last one I'm going to go over is your net worth. Now, your net worth is something you're going to want to think about. And if you have a net worth spreadsheet or anything like that, you're going to want to look at that at least once a year. Your net worth is just simply everything you own versus everything that you owe. So, any sort of assets like, IRAs, 401ks, stocks, crypto, a house, anything like that, any sort of assets minus any sort of debts that you had. So, credit cards, mortgages, anything like that, any kind of loans, car loans, so you just want to, make a spreadsheet or there's probably some kind of program out there that can do it for you. I just use a simple spreadsheet and you just kind of total it up so you can see what your net worth is. And that's a good thing to look at least once a year, because you just kind of want to know if you're on track to achieving your financial goals. So, are you not saving enough? Maybe you're saving too much. Maybe you could live a little and you don't need to be, as frugal as you are being. But it's something that you want to be aware of, because you don't want to wake up and realize that, I didn't save enough, or I saved too much and I didn't, have enough fun in my life or anything like that. It's just something you want to be aware of, where you are, on your financial journey, because ideally, you want to have a nice net worth and be able to retire and have, a comfortable retirement. And the only way to really know if you're on track to do that, is to look at what your net worth is at least once a year, so that you can make adjustments, and so that you're not just kind of caught off guard, wake up and you're 60 and, you weren't looking at any of this stuff. And so you can't really retire the way that you would like to, or you can't retire at all. And that would just be a unfortunate situation. So you're going to want to know what your net worth is, and so you can make adjustments accordingly. So I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions on something that you maybe thought I should have covered that I didn't cover, leave it in the comments. If you're listening this on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review and subscribe to the podcast so that you'll see new episodes when they come out. And if you have any suggestions on things that we should have covered that you'd like me to cover, maybe I'll do a follow-up on it and include some of your suggestions on it. You can email us at podcast@brclosing.com, and we'll see y'all next time.